Hi, in this tutorial, you're going to learn how to do a presentation. Most likely you've been assigned to do a presentation either as a group or as an individual within a course, and now you need to know what next. How do I make my presentation? Well, don't worry, it's pretty easy and it's all incorporated within the Canvas environment and within your class. So let's take a look on how to do that. The first thing that you'll want to do is to go into the class environment. And from on here, you will notice the navigation, which is located over on the left-hand side. Navigation may be different for everybody as far as kind of the specifics that are in there, but if your class does have a presentation that you'll be doing, you'll notice a link on there on the navigation area called Conferences. You will simply just select the Conference button. That'll take a few moments to load. Now you can notice in here that there are some concluded conferences. Note that if you're doing this at the very beginning, there will be obviously no concluded conferences at this time. From here, it's pretty easy. I'm just going to move this window over so you can see the whole picture and that you already know where the navigation button is to get to conferences. To start a new one we're simply going to use this plus button here. Now, before we go any further, this is a presentation that you're doing, but this application that we're using to capture your presentation is also something to be able to engage in a conference, obviously, because it's called conferences. But we're kind of using it for another purpose in order to capture your presentation. So that's really the focus of this tutorial and not so much the live conferencing feature. So don't let that throw you as we're going along here. All right, well, it's pretty simple from this point. You're just going to click the Start a New Conference. In here, this navigation or this pop-up button or pop-up box will appear. Now, your instructor will probably give you some very specifics on how to name your presentation, just for organization purposes. So, as you're looking at the list of all of these student presentations, there is some uniformity and they're easy to navigate on who's doing what. So look for some guidance on your instructor for that. For the purpose of the presentation, though, I am just going to I'm going to follow a naming convention here that may or may not be used for your class. So be forewarned on that. But in the name section, again, I'm just going to put my name. And then in the description, my instructor has told me to put in the name of my presentation, which I'm just going to call Presentation 1. And I'll show you how that's going to look in just a moment when that is when your conference slash presentation is done. All right, so we've got the name of how we're doing this. I have my name up here. Um, this area where it says type big blue button, you will leave that alone. That's actually the application that runs in the background that makes all of this magic happen. Duration. Okay, this is where it's going to get a little tricky, so do pay attention to this segment right here. Duration, normally you can just leave that at 60 minutes. No one is ever going to do a presentation longer than 60 minutes. Now, if you are a single student just doing a presentation by yourself, which we often do, we have students who will just do single presentations, you will do the following settings. You will leave that at 60 minutes. You make sure that you click enable recording of this conference, and that is all for this area. Now, if you are a group presentation, you will want to uh, select enable recording for this conference. Okay, that's going to allow us to record the event, and you will want no time limit. Okay, what that will do, again, only if you're in a group of presenters, is that will allow you the ability for, let's say, student A will be able to come in, record their part, let's say slides 1, 2, and 3. Then they can basically close out of the application. And then later on that day, student B can come in, record their slides, slides, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, exit out of the application, but not close it. And then the final student, let's say you're a group of three, then student C comes in the next morning and they record their three slides, and then we'll actually end the conference. So this will allow a group of presenters to record different segments. Now notice that the segments have to be recorded in sequence. You can't edit or move things around. So you will need some coordination if you are doing that with your group project. Again, only if you're doing a group and you're doing multiple presenters and you want each presenter to do a little bit of the presentation. So remember to do that. Enable recording for conferences. Everybody's going to need to do that. And if you're a group, you will want no time limit on there. Now, my recommendation though is that if you are doing a group, have all those presenters finish it up within 24 hours. The Big Blue Button application says there is no time limit, but I think extending beyond 24 hours could be a situation with how long it's really able to stay stable beyond a 24-hour period. All right, so we've got that. Now I'm going to be a single presenter, so I'm just by myself. I'm not in a group, and I'm doing my presentation. So I'm going to deselect that no time limit, and I'm going to leave that duration of 60 minutes alone. Now, before we hit update, there is one other box to take some deselections in, and that's located right here in members. So right now, the conference is going to invite all of the students in your class. You don't want that because they will all receive an email notification really immediately as soon as you hit update that a conference has gone live. Now, again, we're not really using this as a conference. We're really using this as a kind of a solo conference that you're recording. So think of it that way. So what you want to do is deselect that. So you do not want to invite all members. Now, if you were a group presentation, okay, in that case, let's say I'm a group and Kim is in my group. I'm going to want to select her, and Dan is in my group. I will want to select him. I will want to invite those individuals, obviously, to go in and do their part as the conference or presentation is rolling along. So that's the only time that you're going to select individual members is if you're doing a group project. I'll deselect because again, I am just an individual student making my own presentation, which is probably in most cases what we do, but I do know we do have some group presentations as well. All right, so I'm going to have that. I'm not inviting anybody to my conference. Okay, so that I've double checked that. I've deselected, no one's being invited, and that's the way that I want it. Okay, from here, then I'll just click the update button. That will take a moment, and let's scroll up. And if you notice up in here, a new conference has appeared. Again, I named it, I gave it my name, and it's presentation 1. From this point, I'll just want to hit the start button. Now, what the gear icon can do, let's say I mess something up, I misspelled my name or something of that nature, I can go in and bring up that original screen by just going to the gear icon. But it looks good, so I'm fine. Also on here, I could delete the whole thing altogether. If for some reason I totally messed up everything, even the recording I didn't like, I could delete it and start all over. Okay, but in this case, I'm not going to do that. So, and that will probably use very infrequently that you'll need to go into anything on that gear icon. All right, from here, now I'm just going to hit start. It will take a few moments, so I'm going to pause and shrink down my browser here. Okay, that took only about 20 seconds or so for that to load into my browser, and I've resized my browser so you can kind of see everything that's going on in here. This immediately popped up as soon as I clicked, again, Start Conference, and took about 15 seconds to load. The nice thing about this application is apparently it doesn't load anything onto my computer and it's completely contained within the browser. The browser that I'm using is Chrome, and I've had no issues with Chrome. I have not tested it on any other platform. Okay, so from here, all you will want to do is how do you want to join the audio? You will always want to select microphone because you'll be talking. Now, I'll go ahead and select microphone there. And now it's doing an audio test, which I can hear through my speakers, and it sounds great. So I'm going to click yes.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
And now it says you can record this meeting. You must click Start Stop to record the record button in the title bar to begin and end recording. Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know that. That's fantastic. Okay, so there's a few things to go over at this point. One is audio. Now, my recommendation, as you saw when I started off this tutorial, I wear a headset with a little microphone attached to it. My recommendation is that you do that. You get one of those headsets with the microphone attached, or you get the earbuds with the incorporated microphone, on the cord. That will help to reduce any echo. It also just brings the microphone a little bit closer to you. Now, you may want to try it out with your laptop as is. Most laptops, I mean, almost all laptops in the past 7, 8 years have an incorporated webcam, have an incorporated microphone. But what we have found is that the webcams are just fine. The microphones are not. They tend to make really bury the noise, bury the student's volume where we can't hear them. So again, my recommendation is that you do get one of those headsets. Again, they run about $10 at any large box store. They're pretty cheap. You don't need to get anything fancy. All right, so there is that. Now, a few things that we need to do before we actually start our recording of our presentation. So in here, I'm going to make sure a couple of things. One, that my webcam is going to use, that my webcam is working. So I'm going to click the webcam icon up here and select my webcam. And I happen to have a couple of webcams here. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to get an Adobe Flash setting. I'm always going to want to say allow. It's asking for permission. And we're going to move that, a little bit of blockage there. There we go. And now I can see that it's picking up my webcam just great. So I'm going to leave that at medium quality. That is more than enough for our presentations, and especially with broadband width and etc. So just leave that at medium quality. And you're going to want to select Start Sharing. And there you go. Then you see your little picture in the bottom. So you want to make sure that looks good. All right, we're still not quite there yet. A couple of things. One, I'm making sure, look at the green check marks up here. One, my webcam has a green check mark. I know that works. And two, I know that my microphone is working right up in here with the little green check mark. Now I can stop those by clicking that at any time if I wanted to turn it off, but you do not want to turn it off. So make sure you got the green check marks both in your microphone and your webcam before you start. Last thing you want to do is an entire presentation and realize that you have not captured your audio or that you haven't captured your webcam. And in almost all cases for your presentations, you are required to be on camera. Sorry about that, guys, but we do want to see you on camera. It's part of the presentation. It's also part of us identifying who is doing the presentation. So again, it's like an oral presentation if you were in a classroom. You can't get away without standing up in front of the class. And this way is our way to do that. The great thing about these recorded presentations is that if you make a mistake, you can do it over. Where if you're in front of a class, well, you can't do it over. So that's what's nice about these presentations. So there's a little bit of consolation for you, for those of you that are a little bit nervous about being on camera. All right, so we are looking good. Also notice before I go on here, I'm going to stop talking, but notice how the microphone has a little bit of a gray fuzz around it when I'm talking. And there it went away. Now it's back. That tells me it's listening and that it hears me. So notice how that comes on and it was just off. So there you go. That's another check to make sure that your microphone is picking up and listening. Some applications in the past, you saw the green indicators go back and forth on there. That's kind of the same thing, showing that the microphone is listening. Now we're doing, there's a detected connectivity process there. Usually pops that once during the very beginning. I'm also pulling a lot of bandwidth right now for other applications going through the web. So there we go. All right, we're just about set. Now, what do I need to do? I need to load my PowerPoint. So you've probably have made a PowerPoint. Your instructor has given you specifics on what that PowerPoint, how many slides, etc., need to be in there. This is a very easy process. So from here, you just want to click this icon, this little file plus, and we're going to want to upload a presentation that we've saved to our computer. And we're going to want to select a file. It's a pretty standard process. I'm going to go to my desktop and look around here. I think I got an old PowerPoint in here I can upload for you. There we go. I'm going to select open. I've found the PowerPoint that I want. I'm going to select open. It's going to say I want this EYE VOH PowerPoint. Now, notice I've been saying the word PowerPoint. Okay. Uh, we have not tested this with Keynote. It is my understanding that it works best with PowerPoint, which is our recommended default presentation program. Not to say it may not work with Keynote, which is the Apple product, but if my recommendation would be, if you are using Keynote, that you would save that to a PowerPoint file, the PPT or PPTX file from within Keynote. It does seem that this application works best with PowerPoint files only. Okay, there's that disclosure. All right, so I've got that file, I've got it loaded, looks good. Now I'm going to hit upload. This can take a few minutes. I've noticed in just experimenting, it can take to up to 2 minutes. It's going pretty fast this morning, but do be aware that the upload can take a while. This particular presentation has a lot of big pictures in it that are pretty large in size data-wise. So your presentations may load quicker. I think I have about 11 slides in here. Okay, that process is almost uploaded. After the upload, it will go through a conversion process. So it's turning that PowerPoint basically into static images that cannot be edited. So remember that. Once you do all of your editing of your PowerPoints, get them exactly how you want within PowerPoint, save it as a file, and then know that once you bring it up into the conference feature, that you cannot, change any words or anything like that. All right, it's going to take a little while to convert. I have, in my experimenting with these, I have noticed the conversion time can range anywhere from about 20 seconds to about 2 minutes. So do not be alarmed if this takes some time. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video while it converts, and then we'll check back with you in just a couple of seconds. Okay, I'm back. That was only a couple of seconds for you, but for me was just under 2 minutes. So it did stay pretty much true to the conversion time that we have noticed. It took about 2 minutes for it to convert all of those slides. It did bring in all 11 slides. I can see right there from my slide indicator. And from here, it'll be a kind of easy process as we go through the presentation. Before I get started, I always want to do a little mental checklist here. I want to make sure that my slides are all looking good. So I'll review my slides before I record. Everything is in there that I want to talk about. Everything looks great. All right, so I'll bring that back to my first slide. And I'm getting ready to record my presentation. Now, some students, what we don't want in any presentation is for you to just read a boring script to us. You may be reading it, but don't make it sound like you're reading it. My recommendation is that you put little reminders around the camera, little post-it notes, maybe around the camera area that we can't see that help you. So we want you to really speak to us and not read to us. Just standard presentation skills. Try to follow those. Again, anything that you would do in front of a class, we want you doing in front of a camera. So there we go. All right. Now from here, you're ready to go. You've double checked. You've made sure that your audio is on. I have the little green check mark right there. Looks good. My camera is on. I can see myself in the camera, and both green check marks are looking good there. Just some other standard presentation suggestions for you before we click record. And one of them is try to maintain. Now, as I'm doing this tutorial, I'm obviously having to look at the screen as we kind of navigate through the various features. But as you're presenting, remember to try to look at the camera. The other thing to remember too is that when you're looking at the camera, bring your laptop up to eye level. Nothing looks worse than a laptop on a desk where a student is looking down into the camera. And normally the laptops are low, and you're opening it up and you're looking at the camera that's incorporated into the bezel of the screen, and you're looking down. What you may want to do is just build your camera up a little bit, maybe put it on some books, but try to make sure that that camera is at eye level with you, and gives a little bit more professional look. That's what you're seeing here. I've actually have a laptop stand that brings my laptop up to a higher level. The other thing to look at is lighting. So if you look at the picture and depending on the quality of your camera, how do you look? Are you really dark and shady, or do you look nice and bright? So if you are dark and shady, bring some lights in. Turn on every light in your area. Most laptop cameras are very light hungry. They need light to work. So flip on some lights. If that doesn't work, then also make sure bring in some additional lights. You don't need to buy anything, but usually a couple of lamps behind the camera bringing light onto your face might take care of some of the shadows. So again, just some basic presentation techniques that kind of make you look good, because again, this is the same kind of concept that if you were standing in front of a class that you would want to do in front of a camera. The dress, our recommendation is that you wear business casual is good. Don't want to wear t-shirts. You don't want to wear sweatshirts. You want to wear business casual. Background, try to have the background as neutral as possible or nothing distracting. There is nothing worse than a presentation with a running TV in the background. So make sure there is nothing in the background that would cause your viewers to be watching the background more than they're watching you. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. Okay, so there's some basic production techniques before you click record to really make yourself look a lot better. Now, notice how this picture here, if you're looking down here where the video is going in, that is actually going to be about 3 times larger. So it's going to be a much bigger picture. So keep aware. So again, it's going to magnify it, and we'll take a look at what that looks like towards the end of this tutorial. All right, so we've gone through that. We've got our lighting. We've got our camera angle looking good. We've got our business casual dress. We've made sure we've removed anything weird in the background or turned off the TV or whatever. We've put the dogs away so they're not barking or jumping up on in the background. We've got rid of all of the distractions. Again, we're ready to go. We've checked our camera, it's working. We've checked our sound, it is working. We've loaded our slides, we've reviewed our slides, we reviewed our show notes on how we're going to talk and do the presentation. We are ready to go at this point. It is very simple. All you'll want to do is click this target button right here, and that will start our presentation. So you will click the start recording. It gives you a little warning, which is nice. And we will say yes. And there we go. We are recording now. So right now you would just be doing your presentation. You would be talking to your slides, welcome, blah, blah, blah. You talk to your next slide, Mercy College, 100 years old, and move on to your next slide all the way through your presentation. Let me show you some presentation aids that you may wish to use during your talk. And that is this bar that's been popping up for you. Now, your viewers are not going to see this bar. This is strictly for you. But notice that you have a red laser pointer. That is kind of nice. It is a little laggy. As you can see, it kind of delays as I'm going back and forth, but you do have a red, if you need to draw the viewer's attention to anything on the screen, you have a laser pointer. You can also draw on the screen. That's kind of nice. You can change the color of that pencil. You can change the width of the pencil, all kinds of widths in here, really big and fat. Totally up to you. You can also draw shapes, which I kind of like. That's a nice way to draw your viewers' attention to something. The circle is also kind of nice for drawing attention to something. So know that you've got some presentation aids in there, should you wish to use those. Totally up to you and your presentation style. Now, So from there, you have gone through your presentation, you have gone through all of your slides, you've given the best presentation of your life, and you are sure you have earned the A in your presentation at that point. You've gone through your conclusion. Thank you for watching my presentation. Hope you found this informative. You are done. Well, obviously, you're just going to click on that little target again. Notice how the target has a red center, knowing that you're live at that point. So I'm going to go ahead and click this to stop. Do you really want to stop the recording? Yes, I'm done. I've given the best student presentation of my life. I'm sure I'm going to get the A. So I'm going to click yes. And from here, the recording is done. You are done. All you need to do at this point is to close out of the conference by going to this little door icon up here and just simply log out of the conference. I'm going to select that and I'm going to say yes. Now, before I do that, just a couple of things. If you are doing a group presentation, and let's say you're the first presenter in your group, and then student B is going to be doing their part, later on in the night, which is nice. You don't need to be all there together at the same time. We know that you have very busy schedules all over different time zones. You can come in and record your pieces. Just remember they do have to be sequential, but there can be gaps of time in between. So when you're done, when student A is done, and student B is going to do theirs later, student A will still select log out. Just as if you were a single presenter, you will want to go ahead and select log out. So I'm going to say, do you want to log out? Yes, I want to log out. All right, so from here, I'm going to go back into my conferences. And notice that that presentation is still in progress. Now, remember way back when I selected the 60-minute period. If I was that group presenting, I would select no end. So that conference, do not end the conference if you are in a group until you are the very last presenter and then you're done with your final slide, period. After that, then you can hit end. Now, in this case, I'm a single student, single presenter. I've made my beautiful presentation. I am done. I can go ahead and click end. If I forgot to click end, it would have ended for me automatically after 60 minutes. The recording, though, stopped when I ended the recording. So I wouldn't have 60 minutes of dead space out there. Now, for any of you that might have been to a GoToMeeting or WebEx or any kind of webinar, you probably are recognizing this. This is basically webinar software that we're using to capture your single presentations or group presentations. Okay, so there's kind of a little back end on what you're seeing here. All right, well, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and click end because either I am the last presenter in a group or I'm a single presenter and I'm done. I'm going to click end. Are you sure? You will not be able to reopen that. So that's kind of a nice warning. If you were in a group and let's say I was student B and student C still needs to do their thing. Hopefully this would stop me, that I would not close it out because my fellow students still needed to do their part. But yes, I am done. I really want to end, so I'm going to click OK. All right, now notice that it's popped in here in concluded conferences, and it is kind of grayed out. I can't select, where's my video? I can't select it. Well, here's what happens. As soon as I end the conference, there is some back end processing going on, and it takes about 10 to 20 minutes. I'm going to pause the video and then I'll come back. But in about 10 to 20 minutes, the members that were in the group, again, it might be just one person doing a single presentation, or it might have been those 2 to 3, 4 students that you selected for that presentation, are going to receive an email through their college email or our email that we have for you on record. And it will let you know that, congratulations, your video is done. So I'm going to pause the video, or I'm going to keep track of the time. I'll report back to you on how long that took, and we'll see what it looks like when it's fully done making its video. Okay, it's only been a few seconds for you, but it's been about 8 minutes for me. I received an email to let me know that my recording was done and ready to be reviewed. Anybody who was in the in the conference that you invited. Remember the boxes if you had a group presentation, those individuals that you selected. Or if you're just in there by yourself, if you're just making your own presentation, receives that email letting you know that the video is complete and has been rendered and is ready to view. And so I went back into the course, I went back into the conferences area. I did refresh the page. I did my page refresh for this particular area. And then it now shows as a concluded conference. Here is the one that we did, and with one recording in here. So at this point, you are pretty much done. Students will be able to now view your conference simply by clicking here on the link, and that will send you to that conference. Again, I have some practice conferences that I've been doing that are in here, but let's take a look at the one that we just made. We'll click on that. That will open up this little menu on the bottom, this very abbreviated menu, and you'll simply want to click View. This little icon right here just lets you know you're linking to an external site. That's just the site that's housing the video, but we will go ahead and click on that just so you can see what it looks like. It does take a few moments for it to initialize the recording. I have had this take up to about a minute, so do give some patience for this while it continues to load. There we go. All right, that actually wasn't too bad. Now remember, we had a pretty short video here, but it has loaded. You can see how big the picture is over on the side. That's how big your picture will be. Remember I said it's much larger than what you saw before. It does have a very clean look with this. And then simply students or anybody else viewing your video would just hit the play button and we will watch this. Now you probably won't be able to hear the audio with this because of the way that I'm capturing it, but I'll give you a feel of what it looks like. We are recording now. So right now you would just be doing your, the audio is very good, very clear. Talking to your slides, welcome. If you can't hear it, you talk to your next slide. And again, looks very good, just as we recorded it. Through your presentation. All right, so that is it. You've been able to create your conference, which is also your presentation. You know how to do it as an individual presenter or perhaps as a group presenter. There is, again, remember some of those, if you are doing group presentations, some of the important steps, if you're doing that, not to end the conference until you are really done with the last person contributing to that presentation, then they would end the conference. Don't forget to hit the record button. Don't forget to check, make sure your sound, camera, lights, all of that is working before you get started. That will save you a lot of frustration and difficulty with this. Couple of things I would suggest. Play with this. You can always do a quick recording, making sure everything is working, and then you can go back in and delete that practice session for yourself. I would recommend that. Nothing is more stressful than trying to do this when you have the major assignment due. So go in and try that. Remember, you can delete anything by going back in to that gear icon and simply selecting delete, and you can get rid of it if you do a practice one. If you are doing practice, please do not let it live there forever. Delete it right away so it doesn't kind of clog up everything else that we have in that conference area for all of the other presentations that will be populating that. But again, I'd recommend giving it a little trial before you have to actually go with with your real project. The other thing with right now with the conferences feature within Canvas, and your instructor will mention this, is that each recorded video only lasts for 14 days and then it's automatically deleted. So you will notice that the time frame for these assignments will be within a 14-day window. Most often you'll create a presentation and then in 1 week, and then the next week students will view it and they may give a peer review or may not, but usually other students will view it in the following week. We need to have all of that completed within a 14-day window before your video goes away forever. That might be extended in the future to 30, 90, 60, 90 days, but right now we have a 14-day window on all videos. All right, that concludes this tutorial on how to use the conference feature within Canvas to do your student presentations. Thanks for watching.